All right, so Adam Silver ended up getting on the NBC News, and he was talking about the CBA negotiation that's going on between, of course, the owners and the players, and he absolutely said something that pissed the WNBPA off. All right, they ended up taking shots at him, which I will show y'all that after this. Let's go ahead and take a listen to what he had to say.
All right, let me break this down. Adam Silver just dropped a massive bombshell that absolutely nobody saw coming, and the WNBPA, they completely lost it. But here's where things take a crazy turn. What he said doesn't just stir controversy. It exposes the real reason these negotiations are collapsing from within. By the end of this video, you'll see exactly why there might not even be a WNBA by 2026. And no, that's not drama. That's reality. This situation is bigger, uglier, and more complicated than anyone imagined. So Adam shows up on NBC News. Everything looks standard, until he drops one line that turns the entire conversation on its head. Pay close attention to how he says it.
I think the share isn't the right way to look at it because there's so much more revenue in the NBA. I think you should look at it in absolute numbers in terms of what they're making, and they are going to get a big increase in this cycle of collective bargaining, and they deserve it.
So the main part that I want us to pay attention to is this first part, okay? It's really quick. This clip was really quick, but we need to pay attention to what he said right here.
Yes, I mean, I think the share isn't the right way.
Stop everything. A single sentence just appended months of negotiation. Adam Silver went on NBC and casually dropped, "Don't look at shares." And that one line ripped the lid off the whole strategy. He's signaling the players' framing won't get them the deal they want. The WNBPA responded instantly with an Instagram story. Don't want to share Adam Silver? Turning a private fight into a public circus. Don't be fooled by the noise. Silver's point has teeth, and the reason is simple. Real numbers matter, not headlines. The players push for an NBA-style split because it sounds fair, but once you plug in the actual figures, the headline percentages hide hard truths. And those hard truths change the entire bargaining table.
And by the way, it's not even the owners, the players. So the players get 50% of the money. Where does the rest of the money go? And this is revenue, not profit, not 50% of profits. They want 50% of revenue. So the WNBA costs, let's just make the maths easy. Let's just say it costs 100 million to run the WNBA. It doesn't, it costs way more. When it take into
that single line from Adam Silver didn't just stir things up. It blew the entire negotiation wide open. When he told NBC, "Don't look at shares," he wasn't just making a comment. He was revealing the entire strategy behind the league's stance. What he really meant was simple. The players' demands don't fit within the financial framework the WNBA is built on. The WNBPA didn't hold back either. Within hours, they clapped back on Instagram with a story that read, "Don't want to share? Adam Silver?" Turning quiet tension into a very public standoff. It's chaotic, emotional, and honestly, kind of historic. But here's the wild twist: Silver isn't completely wrong. Once you strip the emotion out and actually look at the math, the picture changes fast. The players want an NBA-style 50-50 revenue split, which sounds fair on paper. But when you crunch the numbers, that surface-level fairness hides some uncomfortable truths about what the WNBA can actually afford. And that's the part nobody's talking about. The hidden economics that could reshape the entire league if either side refuses to back down.
positions that benefit from the league not existing. There are players that benefit from the league not existing. And by the way, we know these players that are in the PA have basically diplomatic immunity from getting fired. If Unrivaled goes 5v5, they're going to make a little more money. But you want to know who's not going to make more money? The 60.
The WNBPA's behavior has officially hit rock bottom. And that's not an exaggeration. It's the hard truth. Just look at their actions. They leaked their own award results purely out of spite toward Caitlin Clark, demanded investigations into things that never actually happened, and even deleted posts after being publicly shamed by their own members. But beneath all that chaos lies a far more dangerous game. Here's what most people aren't connecting. A few of the union's top figures might actually gain if the WNBA goes under. Think about that. If Unrivaled ever switches to a real 5-on-5 league, a handful of elite players could secure huge paydays and more control. But for everyone else, the 60 or 70 players hanging on minimum contracts, it's total devastation. No chicks, no security, no future. This is where the politics turn personal, the strategy turns psychological, and the whole thing starts to look a lot less like leadership and a lot more like manipulation from the inside.
Closer to what he said here. We got to dial in right here. He's speaking really fast. Let's listen to this next part.
The NBA, I think you should look at it in absolute numbers in terms of what they're making.
I think you should look at absolute numbers in terms of what they're making. Because this could be a big increase, right? We don't see in their proposal. The max going from 200,000 to 850,000. That's a big increase. That's a big increase, right? The minimum being over.
He basically said it out loud. They're not trying to give players that share money. What Adam Silver's really saying is that the league plans to boost salaries through efficiency, trimming costs, tightening operations, maybe even axing certain expenses, but that revenue share, it's locked in place. And that raises a serious question. Was last season's awful officiating a side effect of those budget cuts, a quiet attempt to free up funds for player pay? Were these salary adjustments already happening behind the scenes without touching the official split? Now, here's the part that's driving players absolutely insane. I genuinely believe the women deserve way higher pay. No argument there. But according to people who actually understand the WNBA's financial structure, even if players got 80% of their merchandise sales and finally earned a cut of ticket revenue, which right now they get none of, it would still only raise total player income by just over $1 million. That's it. The money they're demanding simply doesn't exist at that scale. And the kicker? They're rejecting a stable salary cap with predictable increases. Instead, they want everything tied to yearly revenue, meaning contracts would fluctuate every season. No one would know next year's cap, forcing players into one-year deals and turning the entire league into a financial roller coaster. It's bold, it's emotional, and it's dangerously unstable, the kind of system that could break before it ever balances. Here's the harsh truth. The players don't even own half of what flows into their own league. That's why that 9% revenue share might be here to stay. The way Adam Silver's talking, it sounds like the WNBA simply doesn't make enough to cover its operating costs. So, increasing the player share isn't even realistic right now. Instead, he's basically saying, we'll tweak the system, cut some costs, get more efficient, but that share number, it's not moving. And then comes the bombshell. He's hinting that the WNBA might be functioning as a tax write-off. Think about that for a second. If the league runs at a loss, owners can use those losses for tax breaks, all while earning good PR for supporting women's sports. That means, from a business perspective, it's actually smarter for them not to make the WNBA too profitable. Why would any owner agree to a revenue split that guarantees bigger losses? They wouldn't. It's not good economics. Now, from the players' angle, it's maddening. They're watching Caitlin Clark sell out arenas, viewership spike, merch fly off shelves, and they're wondering, where's the money going? But here's what they're missing. If the league did a true revenue split right now, owners would be guaranteed to lose money every single year. And no investor, NBA or otherwise, is going to sign off on that. If things keep heading this direction, 2026 could be a breaking point. No season means no future. Not in 2027, not in 2028. Some even argue a full shutdown might be the only way to rebuild from scratch. Remember, the NBA isn't just a partner. They're minority owners keeping the WNBA alive. And those new third-party investors? They don't own teams. They own parts of the league itself. This isn't just about basketball anymore. It's about who controls the very structure of women's sports. When players demand a 50% revenue share, they're not just asking WNBA team owners to take a smaller slice. They're asking the NBA and outside investors to give up their portions too. And none of those groups have a single reason to agree to that. It's classic negotiation psychology. The players believe they hold leverage because of last season's momentum. But the real question is, do they actually? Adam Silver came in like a supposed savior, the man who was going to fix it all. Some even joked he was the Thanos of basketball negotiations. But instead of snapping his fingers and solving everything, he started sounding eerily similar to Kathy Engelbert. His message was clear: we're not giving you the share money. We'll raise salaries a bit, make things more efficient, but that share split? Not changing. Why? Because the league still isn't turning a real profit, not even close to what the NBA makes. And that's the uncomfortable truth. Even with Caitlin Clark's explosion in popularity, the sold-out arenas, record-breaking TV ratings, and viral highlights, she alone can't save an entire business model that's been flawed from day one. A generational talent can spark interest, but she can't fix the financial foundation. Now it gets even trickier. Unrivaled is here. Project B is on the horizon, backed by billions. These new leagues are built differently. Their investors are majority owners, not partial stakeholders like in the WNBA. They control everything, which makes their structure cleaner and simpler. But here's the catch that nobody talks about. Unrivaled could have expanded, could have easily added 16 more players, growing from 44 to 60, but they didn't. Why? Because even these new leagues understand one hard truth about women's basketball economics. The demand, funding, and audience engagement still aren't deep enough yet to fully sustain large-scale expansion. And that's the reality everyone's trying to dance around. If Unrivaled had just gone full 5-on-5, 10 players per team, real basketball, the league could have exploded in popularity. Instead, they locked themselves into this flashy, gimmick-style 3-on-3 format that looks more like a marketing experiment than a legitimate pro league. And honestly, that decision might be their biggest mistake. If Unrivaled were true 5v5, you'd see a totally different story. Caitlin Clark would almost certainly join, and Aya Wilson probably would too, especially during a potential WNBA lockout. But instead of expanding rosters, just 4 extra players per team, they added 2 more teams and kept the structure broken. They could have had 60 players instead of 44, real rotations, and authentic gameplay. Instead, they trapped themselves in a small, limited model that caps both growth and credibility. This has created a brutal dilemma for current WNBA players. Judging by some of the WNBA.His recent posts, it almost feels like they're half pushing for the league to shut down altogether. And maybe, just maybe, that wouldn't be the worst outcome if Unrivaled had gotten it right. Because a brand new league where athletes deal directly with investors who own 100%, no middlemen, no NBA bailout strings, could actually work long term. The infrastructure would be cleaner, the profit sharing fairer, and the incentives perfectly aligned. But it only works if it's real basketball. If Unrivaled had committed to 5-on-5, it could have been the future. Instead, the momentum from Caitlin Clark's breakout rookie season, record playoff ratings, and a renewed fan interest is slipping away fast. If the WNBA collapses in 2026, that wave of energy vanishes with it. And there's no guarantee it ever comes back. This is the crossroads moment. Either they fix the structure now, or someone else gives the players an ultimatum they can't ignore. This whole situation honestly feels like deja vu. It's giving serious, we call BS energy. There's absolutely zero professionalism coming from the WNBA right now, and truthfully, there hasn't been for years. Think about it. They've leaked their own award results purely out of spite toward Caitlin Clark, a player they're supposed to represent. They've demanded league investigations over incidents that never happened. They've been bullied into deleting their own posts after public backlash. And this is the same organization trying to negotiate a multi-million-dollar revenue split. It's chaos disguised as leadership. Here's where the psychology comes in. When you negotiate from emotion instead of strategy, you lose every single time. While ownership is crunching spreadsheets and studying long-term business models, the Players Union is posting Instagram stories calling out Adam Silver. Those aren't equal approaches. One side's running a corporation, the other's chasing viral moments. But beneath the drama, there's a deeper truth driving all of this. Adam Silver said it plainly: share is the wrong way to look at it because there's so much more money being made in the NBA. And that line exposes the entire problem. The WNBA can't just copy the NBA's 50-50 model because too many hands are already in the cookie jar. To raise the player's share, either the NBA's cut or the third-party investor's cut has to shrink. and neither group is budging. That's why Silver's approach is actually strategically brilliant. He's saying, we'll raise the real dollar amounts through efficiency and growth, but the percentage split stays the same. It sounds cold, but it's smart business. Under his model, maximum salaries could rise from $200,000 to $850,000, and minimums could climb to $300,000. Real, tangible gains without touching the fragile balance that keeps the league running. It's not the emotional win players wanted, but it might be the only realistic path that keeps the WNBA alive long enough for the next generation to cash in bigger. The players don't just want higher salaries. They want a completely different system. They're demanding ownership-level control over the revenue split. And that's where this entire thing becomes almost impossible to solve. The math doesn't work, and the structure can't just be rewritten overnight. Here's the reality. These players could make more money, but probably not under the WNBA's current setup. A new 5-on, 5 league, built from the ground up with clean ownership and direct investment, not tied to the NBA's complicated bailout model, could pay them far better. But that idea comes with a dark possibility. What if some of the players in leadership positions actually want the WNBA to collapse? It sounds extreme, but think about the incentives. If you're a superstar, someone guaranteed to get endorsement deals and immediate contracts elsewhere, starting fresh in a new league sounds appealing. But if you're player number 60 on a roster, barely holding onto a spot, a shutdown means the end of your career. No income, no platform, no future. And here's the nightmare scenario. If there's number 2026 WNBA season, the league might never recover. Those expansion teams with shiny new arenas? Most of those owners have exit clauses, legal get-out-of-jail-free options. They could easily repurpose their facilities for other events or sports, walk away, and take minimal financial damage. The players, though, will be left with nothing. No games, no paychecks, and no leverage. That would hand the spotlight to Unrivaled, but that league is still stuck in its 3-on-3 gimmick format, something even the biggest stars don't want to play. The irony is brutal. By pushing too hard for a deal the owners can't afford, the players might destroy the only platform big enough to showcase their talents. The deadline's coming fast. The owners are offering huge salary jumps, but they refuse to move on the percentage split. And for good reason. The league still runs at a loss. Meanwhile, the players see record attendance, massive TV numbers, and Caitlin Clark's historic impact, and believe they finally have leverage. But that leverage only exists emotionally, not mathematically. This fight isn't about fairness anymore. It's about math versus momentum. And right now, math is winning.